Hey guys, welcome back. If you've been watching my channel since we launched in January, then you know we have been completely ahead of the curve on the structural shifts that are happening in the AI infrastructure build out. While the rest of Wall Street was purely chasing raw GPU computing power, I have been banging the table about the memory titans and how this sector has needed to be re-rated and explaining why the memory wall would become the defining bottleneck of the compute cycle. Well, take a look at what's happening right now in Taipei at the Computex 2026 meeting, because the narrative, it has completely shifted. The broader market is finally waking up, and the chatter on the ground right now, it is crystallizing into the reality of the physical constraints. It is no longer just about chips. It is about the physical barriers preventing these chips from operating at full capacity. We are officially entering the era of the dual bottleneck. To run frontier AI models, the industry isn't just slamming into the memory wall anymore. It is running face first into the connectivity wall. And if you want to understand where institutional capital will rotate over the next 3 to 5 years, you have to find the companies that are helping to solve these exact bottlenecks. Today, we're going to break down a masterclass in hardware evolution. We're going to stare at two specific giants in this space, Micron technology and Marvell technology. And I'm going to map out exactly why their diversified portfolios make them two of the most important or absolute gatekeepers of the next AI phase. But before we jump into the tape and I show you how these companies perform today and look at their portfolios, let me ask you one thing. Let me ask you, do me a favor, hit like and hit subscribe. Guys, we're trying to get this channel to see if we can get to 20,000 subscribers tonight. We need about 400 more subscribers. So if you value this content, if you learned something on my channel, do me a favor, just hit the button, subscribe now. I appreciate it. I want you to be part of the community. Guys, let's jump in. Let's start off and take a look and see how Micron performed today. Let's pull up that chart just to see how Micron did today. And you can clearly see it had another strong day overall. Micron closed at $1,064.30, up almost $29 on the day, just about a 3% growth. We're seeing a little bit of pullback in the after hours, but guys, I've been watching this since the market closed, and it's actually getting to be a better and better picture as we go along. I'm guessing probably by the end of this video, this number is going to be in the green. Because about an hour ago, it was probably $12 pullback, and now we're in the $4 range overall. This market and this stock is moving back to the green. Today, we saw it hit a new 52-week high. Over here, I'm circling on the screen of 1076 overall. So it was another strong day for Micron across the board. And if I take a look at the candle pattern overall, you can see the stock kind of jumped out, and then it faced some immediate selling pressure overall. And if you take a look at the volume underneath, look at the high volume bars that we had in that first couple hours on market. But it faced some immediate selling pressure within the first 10 minutes. And if you remember in my video last night, I said, don't chase this blindly at the opening. Watch for the 1015, the 1020 level of support. If the stock pulls back, let's see what the institutional players do. Will they step in and show their support? And it's exactly what happened. Look at what we saw right here in the next hour or so of trading. Overall, the buyers stepped right back in, got to the high of the day right there after showing that conviction for the support. We saw some algorithmic selling, some profit taking again, a little bit of sideways consolidation, but then we had a real nice kind of just strong push and a strong finish overall through the day. So we saw this buyer step in that afternoon session. You can see kind of how the stock is ramping up, and it finished pretty strong going into the bell. But we have to ask ourselves, and this is the question I hear from analysts and pundits on the news and probably in our community as well, kind of scratching our head just thinking, how did Micron get here? I mean, we're talking about a company that maybe a year ago or so, about a year ago, had a market cap of $100 billion, and now it is up over $1 trillion. We're talking about Micron that historically has been a cyclical, frugal commodity business that built factories on shoestring budgets and avoided any type of cutting-edge bet at all. So it looks like if you pull up an article here that they were nudged, so it says, by Jensen Huang and Nvidia. I love this article when I saw it from Reuters. I'm showing you here on investing.com, but it clearly says how Nvidia propelled frugal Micron into the AI boom and $1 trillion market cap. Let me show you some of the highlights in here. But it clearly said here that Micron, their march towards $1 trillion valuation is nothing if not dramatic. A year ago, it was a little over $100 billion. That surge, though, was not built on its famed frugality, but on a nearly too late push from Nvidia that pulled the U.S. market chip maker into the center of the AI boom. For decades, the Ohio-based company survived by building factories on a shoestring budget, adopting used equipment, and avoiding cutting-edge bets, like I mentioned. But that approach to treating memory chips as a commodity, it clashed with Nvidia's vision, with Jensen's vision overall. And 3 years ago, Jensen, he sat down with Sanjay Mehrotra, and they outlined how he expected the memory market to evolve. The vision of Jensen. He explained to them how this market will evolve overall. And Jensen said in a media interview last month that he had a long bet early. He had a long bet early that memory, not just processors, would become a critical bottleneck in AI, forcing suppliers like Micron to rethink both technology and spending. And right now, he is ultimately grateful that Micron and Nvidia, they really lined up their roadmaps together. That's what he said in the interview overall. And I think it's just such a great article, but it also just shows you like the vision of Jensen and where he understands the bottlenecks are moving right now. You know, he changed the trajectory of the AI cycle altogether, but apparently with that nudge, he had a big hand in changing the trajectory of Micron as well. Nvidia needed specialized high bandwidth memory, and they needed Micron to change their entire commodity mindset. Micron listened. We'll give them credit. Sanjay, he listened to Jensen. He did change. They became more aggressive. They built out more fabs. They aligned their product roadmap directly with Nvidia. And just last week, Micron crossed that historic $1 trillion market cap. They turned that cyclical commodity business into a high margin, long-term contractual cash machine. And that's not the only reason I'm so bullish on Micron. I want to pull up and just kind of walk you through how they laid out their full portfolio overall just this week at Computex 2026. So let me pull that article up and we can walk through it together. Because this clearly shows you, I hope it should help you understand why I have such conviction. I've said this in the comments many times, why I think Micron is the best of the Fab Four, why I am bullish on this is because of their diversified portfolio of memory products. They cover everything. And that's exactly what I want to show you in this article, because you can clearly see here, Micron powers AI everywhere at Computex 2026. Micron Technology today announced a showcase of its full portfolio of AI-optimized memory and storage solutions during Computex 2026. And I'm just highlighting a few things, but it says AI context links are increasing by 30 times per year, while memory content per server has doubled in the past 3 years, according to their Executive Vice President and Chief Business Officer. And I want to walk through their portfolio. I'm just going to highlight a few, but you can see here, if we start with the memory and storage, the products they have that help the foundation of AI data center performance. Micron's data center memory and storage portfolio, as I mentioned, is purposely built to address every layer of the AI infrastructure hierarchy. This tiered memory approach with Micron at the heart of every layer, optimizing latency, bandwidth, power, capacity, and cost. Micron's latest milestones across the portfolio demonstrate the momentum that the company has. So let's go through a few. Obviously, we know about high bandwidth memory. So HBM4, the 36 gigabyte 12 high, it enables a 2.6 times increase in the large language model inference throughput. It's measured in tokens per second for every 2 times increase in bandwidth. There's SOCAMM. Micron is the only provider of the 256, you see it right here, 256 gigabyte SOCAMM 2, the world's highest capacity offering, extending leadership in low-power data center memory by delivering 1/3 of the power and 1/3 of the footprint versus a standard RDIMMs. They're high-capacity RDIMMs. Micron sampled the company's leading-edge 1-gamma technology in the 256 DDR5 RDIMM, which is capable of speeds up to 9,200 megatransfers per second. It is 40% faster than modules in volume production today and has more than 40% lower operating profit versus 2 of their 128 gigabyte modules. And then finally, the data center SSDs. So I want to call out this new one now available, right? The 245, there you go, terabyte, the Micron 6600 Ion. It sets the benchmark for density and power efficiency, reducing rack footprint by 82% and power consumption by a half compared to the HDD-based deployments. But that's not all. I think you kind of take a look at, we know the data center, but let's talk about the cloud or the edge and how Micron is preparing its portfolio for that as well. Because AI inference expands from data centers to PCs, smartphones, vehicles, embedded systems. The demands on memory and storage are fundamentally changing. Micron is engineered for this shift. So let's take a look at a few of their product offerings. So obviously they have the low power CAM2, which delivers 9,600 megatransfers per second in a module, low power, 128-bit dual channel design for thinner, lighter PCs. They have the GDDR7. It delivers 1.5 terabytes per second of system bandwidth, 60% higher than their GDDR68, and up to 33% higher AI inference throughput. They have their low power DDR5X. They have their obviously their client SSDs, and then finally the UFS for automotive. So their UFS 4.1, it delivers up to 4.2 gigabytes per second, twice the previous generation, with 115 Celsius thermal protection and a functional safety compliance for advanced driver assistance systems. Guys, you can clearly see Micron has this diversified portfolio with so many different products. They are building, as it says in this paragraph here, building on multi-generational leadership in DRAM and NAND process technology. And most recently, their 1-gamma DRAM and their G9 NAND. Micron is deepening its technical collaboration with partners across the ecosystem through cooperative design and engineering, bringing AI platforms to market faster with greater system level optimization. So guys, that is I went through that because people ask, why are you so bullish on Micron? I think it's not only just the demand in the market and their ability to meet the bottleneck, but it's that diversified portfolio that we see. That's what drives my conviction overall. I've shared it before on the channel. It is what drives my ultimate conviction with Micron. I think they're such a special company here in the US. They're meeting the needs in the market overall. But remember what I said at the beginning of the video, the memory wall is only half the battle. Once you solve the problem of getting the data out of storage, you encounter an even harsher reality, the connectivity wall. When you cluster tens of thousands of GPUs together to train a frontier AI model, those chips must constantly talk to one another. If the network cables carrying those, connecting those chips are slow, your $30,000 GPU spends half its time absolutely doing nothing, waiting for data packets to arrive. This Tuesday at Computex, Jensen Huang made a surprise appearance on stage. Let me pull that up because it had a massive implication and massive impact on the market. But you can clearly see on your screen that Jensen came out. He made a surprise appearance on stage during Marvell Technologies' keynote speech. He stood next to Marvell Technologies CEO, Matt Murphy, and he dropped a bomb on the market. Jensen openly called Marvell the next trillion-dollar company. Think about the weight of that statement. Jensen just did for Marvell what he did for Micron 3 years ago. He flagged them as a critical linchpin for the next phase of the global compute build-out. Nvidia has even put their money where their mouth is with regards to Marvell Technology because they invested $2 billion into the company earlier this year to ensure that Marvell's custom silicon blends perfectly with Nvidia's networking setups. And Jensen laid out the architecture reality perfectly this week. He said we should use copper as much as we can, as long as we can, but copper has its limits. And after that, you scale up further with optics. You scale out with optics, and you scale across with optics. Marvell's CEO, he reinforced this as well. He stated that the copper boundary is physically receding inside the server racks. To scale AI further, the world has to move data with light instead of electricity. And that brings us directly to what we saw Marvell do today, the explosive performance that they had on the market today overall. So I want to pull that up and show that performance as well. And before we get into that performance, though, I know there's probably a number of you that are sitting right now listening to the video and saying, Kevin, just yesterday, you named Broadcom as your aggressive growth stock or your aggressive growth anchor for June. Has that changed? It has absolutely not changed. I'm still bullish as ever on Broadcom. I can't wait to see their earnings tomorrow because I think it's going to be massive. But I'm also a huge believer in Marvell because you have to understand how institutional capital operates. This is not an either or scenario. This is a structural pair trade. Broadcom is an absolute financial fortress of AI networking. They have massive high margin software cash flows, and they own the lion's share of the legacy custom ASIC market. They are the essential baseline for any AI infrastructure portfolio. But Marvell is your high beta growth engine. They are smaller, their AI ramp is earlier, and because they are starting from a smaller revenue base, their percentage growth rate heading into the back half of the cycle is projected to completely outpace the larger players. So let's look. You can see on the graph here how they actually performed today and the impact of Jensen's endorsement overall at Computex. It was an absolute capitulation today, an absolute growth firestorm for the stock. It was amazing performance. You can see the stock was up almost 33% today, about $72 overall close the session. It's still moving right now in the after hours, a massive amount. You can see about another 10%. The stock right now is up over $28 at $319, just over $319 a share. It was a tremendous day overall for Marvell today. And they added $45 billion in market cap in today's session alone. But let's jump over and take a look at what it actually did in the candle pattern as well. And I want you to take a look at this gap up because you can't even see where Monday finished. I got to pull it all the way up here. And this is where Monday closed. And take a look at a gap up. If you've ever seen conviction or support for a stock, that would be it. That was a massive gap up overall. But the interesting piece here, when you look at this, is that it had this huge gap up, but we didn't see a sell-off after as well. Buyers continuously squeezed it higher all day long, closing on high volume at the absolute peak of the daily range. That is total conviction for the stock today. We even see it moving in the after hours right now even further. So why is Marvell the ultimate gatekeeper of the connectivity wall? Like, what about them and their diversified portfolio makes them as special as Micron? Because I showed you how brilliant Micron's diverse portfolio is. I want to talk about three things for Marvell Technologies, what make them special and why I think they have an opportunity to help solve this connectivity bottleneck we see. First is the custom compute. Marvell is a powerhouse of custom ASICs, and hyperscalers are turning to them to co-develop cloud-optimized AI accelerators. Because of their dominance here, Nvidia invested $2 billion in the company. They launched an NVLink Fusion, allowing cloud giants to run custom Marvell silicon side by side with Nvidia hardware. The second piece is all around their electro-optics. They lead the market in the PAM4 DSPs and the co-packaged optics. This is the technology that literally transforms electrical signals into light waves, moving data across massive GPU clusters at the speed of photonics. And finally is the advanced AI switching. Just this week, Marvell dropped a massive product launch, is TeraLynx T100. This is a monolithic 3 nanometer, 102.4 terabits per second network switch, engineered purely for AI clusters. It slashes networking power by 25% and collapses network tiers so thousands of XPUs can communicate with near zero latency. Marvell is forecasting their custom silicon business alone to blast past $10 billion by fiscal 2029. And when Jensen says scale out with optics, the entire photonics supply chain catches fire. Look at the massive ripple effect. Let me pull that up. And this is just midday when Barron's published this article. But you can see the ripple effect across the other players overall. So we saw Coherent. It was up. Coherent today was up over 17%. Lumentum was up over 13%. It hit the stock is up over $1,000 a share now. Corning was up over 13% overall. So it is having a ripple effect across the entire sector. Nvidia isn't just talking about this constraint, though. They've deployed over $6 billion of capital into photonics companies over the past three months alone, including $2 billion stakes in Coherent and Lumentum individually each. The money is moving. It's moving directly into the infrastructure designed to shatter the bandwidth bottleneck. So guys, the takeaway is clear for me today overall. If you are an investor that is only buying up GPU designers, you are playing yesterday's game. The architecture of the AI infrastructure has evolved. Micron cracked open the memory wall by transforming itself from a legacy commodity manufacturer into an indispensable high-margin partner, tightly woven into architectures like NVIDIA's Vera Rubin platform. Meanwhile, Marvell is positioned to demolish the connectivity wall, using its custom silicon and market-leading optical interconnects to change how data moves within the cloud. I am bullish on both of these companies. They possess the engineering moat, the deep ecosystem diversification, and ultimately, they have the stamp of approval from the architect of AI himself, Jensen Huang. The structural shift is happening right now, and the capital is moving fast. If you want to stay ahead of this market and track these infrastructure plays as we develop, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Make sure you become part of this channel. I drop a video like this every single day. Thanks for watching the video. Appreciate all your support, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next deep dive. Have a great night.